You're all using Ophidia Spathe wrong. I know everyone is loving the newly reworked Ophidia Spathe running around using Knife Trick, but the meta play is to actually use Weighted Knife. Why? Because we can guarantee an ignition every single knife throw without requiring a kill, which means it makes it viable against harder enemies and harder content, rather than being a gimmick build that's only usable in easier content. Which is where builds like Caliban's Hand and Knife Trick Ophidia Spathe builds fall short. So in this build, we have infinite handheld nukes that guarantee an ignition every knife throw if done correctly. Not only do our knives become stronger with each subsequent kill, but our ignitions also benefit from the Ophidia Spathe buff, meaning the ignitions also do double damage. We also have Infinite Radiant, which is an additional 25% PvE damage buff, and Infinite Restoration, meaning we never die. This build is the best Solar Hunter build for solo players this season, as you have everything. Insane ad clear, amazing damage against stronger enemies thanks to ignitions, and we have insane survivability thanks to the Infinite Restoration. We also do not rely on any artifact mods for the core gameplay loop of the build, meaning this setup will be viable forever. Dim link for the build will be in my Discord, link for which will be in the comments or description below. At the heart of the build is the buffed Hunter exotic chest piece Ophidia Spathe, which grants us 2 charges of our melee and now also provides a stacking buff to damage for both our knives and any ignition caused by those knives. On 1 kill you get 30% bonus, 2 kills 60%, and 3 kills you get a 100% damage bonus, i.e. double damage. Now this is pretty significant because it can take a 30 to 40k ignition hit all the way up to 60 to 80k, which is pretty substantial. Now most people are running Knife Trick, which you need 2 of to cause an ignition. It's pretty good against red bars and orange bars, but against stronger enemies like mini bosses and champions, even if you use Gambler's Dodge to get both charges of your knives back, it isn't truly sustainable, because after the 4th knife throw, you typically have to wait for your dodge cooldown to come back. And in that time frame, you've only created 2 ignitions, which generally isn't enough to kill those harder enemies in higher level content. The real meta play is to actually pair Skyburner's Oath with Weighted Throwing Knife. Skyburner's Oath, when you fire from the hip, will always apply Scorch to enemies, and Weighted Throwing Knife, when it hits a scorched enemy, will always guarantee an ignition. So fire 1 hip fire shot of Skyburner's Oath, which will apply Scorch, and then use 1 Weighted Knife, and you'll guarantee an ignition. Keep doing this again and again with Gambler's Dodge thrown in, and you'll be able to take out mini bosses and champions pretty easily. And then thanks to our healing grenade, we can actually also proc Restoration, which can be extended infinitely every time we get a solar ability or weapon kill, whereby our Skyburner's Oath, knife, or ignition all count. I did say no artifact mods, but there is one this season that I think will really help against those stronger enemies, and that's Revitalizing Blast, whereby causing damage with a solar ability will weaken champion and bosses, meaning you get an even greater damage bonus on those subsequent ignition and knife throws. You'll want to pay attention to the rest of the build because every little bit of it synergizes to make sure we can squeeze out as much as possible from it. I'm running Gambler's Dodge because when we use it with Ophidia Spathe, we actually get refunded both of our charges back. Triple Jump, Weighted Throwing Knife, which causes scorch targets to immediately ignite, and Precision Final Blows instantly recharges your class ability, which is really handy. Healing Grenade, which is key to starting our initial timer for restoration. I then use On Your Mark because it grants us 3 fragment slots. Knock 'em Down is key for the build because when we are Radiant, we want our throwing knife kill to refund our knife charge so we can use it infinitely against weaker enemies. In terms of fragments, Ember of Torches is absolutely mandatory, which when we throw our knife, we become radiant, and then this pairs with Knock 'em Down so that when we do get that kill with our knife, we get our knife charge back immediately. Ember of Searing, so that when we kill scorched enemies, we gain melee energy and we generate fire sprites, which gives us grenade energy. If you do accidentally mess up your rotation, then using Skyburner's Oath to quickly kill enemies with this fragment will quickly refill your throwing knife charge. Ember of Singeing, which boosts class ability regeneration significantly when we do scorch targets, Ember of Char, which spreads Scorch to nearby enemies on an ignition, so in some scenarios you don't even need the pre-hit with Skyburners because another ignition will have already scorched the enemy. And then finally Ember of Empyrean, which is also super important because it extends our Radiant and Restoration timer from any of our Knife, Ignition or Skyburners kills. In terms of stat priority, the number one stat to make the build viable is actually 100 mobility. 100 mobility means your Gambler's Dodge comes back quicker, meaning you can dodge and instantly get 2 charges of your melee back. Don't prioritize 100 strength here. In close second is 100 resilience, so you have that 30% damage resistance for harder content. Ideally you do want 100 mobility and 100 resilience. Then go for discipline, recovery, strength, and intellect in that order. In terms of mods, again the priority is to generate class ability energy rather than melee energy. On my helmet, I run 1 Harmonic Siphon so that we can generate orbs of power from our Skyburner's Oath, and then 2 hands-on so we generate super energy from our melee kills. On my gloves, I run 2 copies of Focusing Strike so we get our class ability back quickly, and 1 heavy-handed so we generate orbs from melee kills. This has been nerfed and it only now procs every 10 seconds, so it's not as strong as it used to be. On your chest piece, run the relevant resistance mods, and then on your boots, run 1 Insulation and 1 Absolution for class ability regeneration when you pick up those orbs of power, and then I also added in 1 Better already for more survivability. Then on your class item, you can run Reaper alongside Powerful Attraction so that after dodging, your next weapon final blow will guarantee an orb of power. And then I squeezed on 1 Bomber rather than 1 Outreach because Gambler's Dodge is already going to refund your melee, so you might as well squeeze a little bit more grenade energy out of it. So there you have it, my Ophidia Spathe build, which actually uses weighted throwing knife rather than knife trick. All you solo hunters out there, I know all you guys were worried after the arm Kara nerf, but this is the build that will guarantee you those infinite ignitions now. It truly is a solo build to reckon with that has become even stronger this season with the Ophidia Spathe rework. If you enjoyed what I talked about today, remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Destiny builds, both PvE and PvP. I'm Mr. Ronit, and that's it for today. Peace out, guys.